run over to my Amazon app here and get going on there. And we'll get moving. All right, we'll go live. There we go. So we are live, everybody, once again, I think. Yes, we are live. How about that? Okay. So today, everybody, let me get my mic fixed here for a second. So today, I have a bunch of stuff that I got to pack up and get out of here. So a lot of these are loaners, and then we're going to be selling this one. And so I thought, though, before I packed up all this stuff, there's a new benchmark that 3DMark released recently. And this one is called the Wildlife Benchmark. And what this does is it lets you, it's a comparative across multiple platforms. And that intrigued me. So we are going to start collecting some data on it. And I've already run it on a few devices. I've been looking at it over the last couple of days. So if you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, you can see what I have already done here. So I ran it on my iPhone, the Pro 11. I ran it on my gaming PC with the 2080 Ti upstairs. And then I ran it on all of the Google Pixel phones. And today I've got like 2 or 3 laptops and this iPad and the iPad Pro that we're going to run it on to see how it performs. And we'll just start going ahead and marking up our document here with everything that we get for results. Nothing too fancy, you know, just a little overview just to see what we end up with here. And give me 1 second here, folks. I just want to make sure I got the right iPad on my list of Amazon products here. There we go. Let's add that one to the stream. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So right now we're looking at the iPad, the new one. This is the latest inexpensive iPad, the entry-level iPad. This is the iPad 10.2, and this is what you would get, you know, if you were just out shopping. Anthony Biacco is here, so we'll say hello to you. We'll pull that up, and what we're going to do is just start the benchmark. So there's a couple of comparisons here so we can get an idea as to what kind of scores we can expect, and then your device will be compared against that. Monty's asking, do we have any Ryzen laptops to, do I? I don't think I have any here right now, but I have access to one. So I have, we're not going to be able to do the Ryzen one today, because I don't think I've got any Ryzens in the house at the moment. But I've got one that I lent to somebody that I can have them run on there. So we do have access to one, but just not at the moment. So let's go ahead and start the benchmark here and see what we get. Yeah, so we're going to see the same test running across multiple platforms. And it's kind of a fun little exercise because you could really get a feel for how close one device is to the other. So for example, if we look here, currently on mobile devices, the iPhone Pro 11 from last year is currently the fastest that I've tested. And I expect this iPad to be faster than the 4XL from Google, the Pixel 4, when this is done. So we'll see how it runs here. Yeah, so it's pushing about 30 FPS. And this test, again, will run the same on iOS, Android, and Windows. And this is the first time they've had a test that runs across all 3 platforms like this. And it's looking at exactly the same thing. This is running as a in Vulkan, so we'll see what happens there. Keith McDermott is here. Hello. And Monty wants to know, am I out right now? Yeah, I don't have, I don't think I have any Ryzens here. I'll double check and see. I'm pretty sure I sent them all back, because I test those right away. I know how viewers are really into those. So I don't think I've got one here. And then when I put them up on my little thing there, they get sold like immediately. Isn't this so cool? I'll tell you what, I really wish they would turn these benchmarks into games because they're so cool looking. And what I love about this test is that it's very quick to run. So as expected, actually, yeah, as expected, this did better than the Pixel 4 phone. Now remember, this is the entry-level iPad. So this is not the high-end one that we're going to test in a second. This is like what you get, this is a basic iPad here. So we got his score. Let me write this down on here. This is the iPad. This is the 7th. Is it the 7th or the 8th? I can't remember. It's the 8th gen. And I think it has an Apple what has it got on there? iPad 8th gen. Let's see what it has for specs. This has, for a processor, does it tell me on here? No, it doesn't. This has an A12. So we will call this an Apple A12. Our score is 5598, and the FPS is 33 on the average. And I like to point this out here because I talk about this a lot. You know, you look at, now granted, we're not looking at super high-end Android phones here on the channel frequently, but the most powerful one we've looked at in a year or two has been the Pixel 4 XL. The new Samsungs and stuff will do better. But again, look where the iPad 8th generation comes in here. I mean, that is super strong, right? Pretty good. And I'm really eager to get to the Windows machines to see how those do. But there you go. So that is the 8th generation iPad. And I can start getting this one ready for reset now that we got that test result in there. Anthony Biacco, yeah, I think I might do the Shield. He's wondering about the NVIDIA Shield. I do have one which is handy right here. So we'll try that out. And I don't have a ton of time, but I hope to get some in there. Arif Hassan is here, right on schedule with the Atari VCS every time. I don't have one yet. Vita Babla is here. Monty's asking if I have the new iPad, the iPod Air. The iPad Air. I ordered one. It might be waiting for me at my mailbox. I have that and the iPhone Pro coming. So we'll check that out. And Anthony looked this up faster than I did. It's got the A12. That's correct. So there you go. All right, so we're going to remove this from the stand here. I got these stands a little while ago. They're pretty cool because things stick to them, and then you can take them off. So what I'm going to do with this iPad now, though, is reset it because I am done fully testing it. I reviewed this a few weeks ago, so you can find my review up here on Amazon or on YouTube if you're curious about that. So I'm just going to start the reset process on this thing and get it ready for its new home. So I don't get these freebies from Apple. So I buy the Apple stuff, and then if I don't need it, I sell it. So that's what's going to happen with this one. And I've got a bunch of stuff to pack up. And my plan was to do this earlier today, but something came up this morning, so I've not been able to. I'm about 4 hours behind where I wanted to be. And then today, so usually around this time of the year, I'd be going to New York City for one of these PepCom shows, which are these really fun press events. And unfortunately, they're not having an in-person one this year. So they're doing a virtual one, which is going on right now, but it's going like all day. So I should have time to tune in. But what I want to do is get the rest of these Windows machines tested and out of here. Because I've got the, so you're going to see this review tonight of the Acer Spin 5. And I didn't run this test on there yet because the test wasn't actually out until the other day. So we'll have a look at that. And now I've got my iPad 11 Pro. I think that's what they call this one still. This is the older one. This is not the new one. But this is still the one with the thin bezels on here. And this is not the Air. This is the Pro. But I did order the Air, which is coming in soon. They all look the same. So you don't know which one you're using until you run something on it. So we're going to just download the Wildlife Benchmark. Again, this is called the Wildlife Benchmark. And it runs on everything. So you should be able to find it on just about any device that's out there. So if you're on Amazon, I'm referencing right now the iPad Pro 11. This is the prior edition. So this one is going to be a little slower than the new one. But it should still be pretty quick. And I've got to figure out what processor mine has. So let me see, iPad 11 Pro specs. So this is the first generation iPad Pro 11. And this one has the A12X. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize it has the A12X. So this one has the A12, the regular iPad. So you know what? This may not perform all that much better than what we just saw. But let's find out. We're going to stick it on our little stand here. That's what I love about this stand. You just stick it on there and it doesn't move. Isn't that cool? These stands, by the way, I should add them to the mix of our Amazon thing. I've got, if you click the video description, you can go right over to my Amazon page and follow me there. So let's start the test on this one. And let me see what the name of these stands are again. This is called the slope stand. And there's 2 different sizes, and stuff just sticks to them. They're really cool. Those came in free of charge, by the way, but I use them a lot. And they're great for the videos that I do because they look nice and they hold the stuff in place really nicely. So it's called the Slope. There's a Slope Mini and a Slope whatever, Slope Normal. Let's go see if I can find another one here. Yeah, I just have the Mini on Amazon listed right now, but you'll find both of them there. So you can check it out in the Amazon live stream. But right now we are referencing the iPad Pro 11, and the new 11 I think has the A13, and then the A14 is in the new Air. So that should give you an idea as to where things are on the ladder here. So let this run. Cryptic Tan writes in to say that he really appreciates the Pixel 5 review, straight and to the point. Yeah, I got a lot of heat on that. You know what I found? I mentioned this the other day, that there's definitely some, I don't want to use the word fanboyism because that's not, I don't want to denigrate people who support their devices, but there's people that really love their specific devices, and the Pixel phones have a lot of fans. And a lot of them made a very good point that performance is not as important. And to a degree, they're correct. However, I think consumers believe that when you make a version 5 of something, it's better than version 4. And aesthetically, it is better, but performance-wise, it isn't. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at that stuff. All right, so let's go to the results page here. And this is the iPad Pro 11 first generation. So we're going to put this one above here. iPad Pro 11 first gen. And this has an A12X. Apple A12X. And what's interesting when you look at these Apple devices is that you'll hear them say, oh, it's got the latest A12 whatever, but it doesn't perform the same, right? So we found in our review of the 8th generation iPad that the A12 on the 8th generation device doesn't perform as well as the A12 on other devices. And here's an example of that. Now this is the A12X, so it's a slightly different processor, but we got a score of 9838 at 58 frames per second average. And this gives you an idea as to how it compares. So again, it's kind of blowing away the Android devices by quite a bit. So there you go. And Addison Williams on Amazon chat says hello. And you know what I'll do now? Maybe we'll try out the NVIDIA Shield real quick. I've got to just reconfigure a few things. I actually have my Shield on the floor here. Don't judge me. But I have a real mess on my hands down here. It's just, I work and work and work and work, and I review so much stuff. And I just kind of put it aside and move on to the next project. And then you get into the situation that I'm in now where everything is just piling up. So we need to make some adjustments soon with stuff. But here is the NVIDIA Shield. I'm just going to zoom the camera out. We'll stick a monitor on it and see if we can get that test to install on the Shield. And I hope it's up to date. I'm pretty sure that it is. But if it isn't, we will investigate in due course. All right, so I got a monitor. I've got a HDMI cable. That's a styrofoam, by the way. I just need to find the power plug for the Shield, which is right here. And we're just going to plug it in and run a quick little testaroo on here and see how it does. And I think I'll connect up some Ethernet to it also. I'm not going to bother doing any direct capture just because it's easier just to plug it in right now and get that done. So, 'cause I want to get to those PCs. My goal is to get all these PCs tested and out of here in due course. So that is the plan. And today's what I call office hours. So these streams are a little less structured. I'm just kind of working, doing my daily tasks here. So that is what these little streams are all about, just kind of working through stuff. So I got a bunch of chats on Amazon here. Addison wants an iPad. Unfortunately, I cannot provide you one, but they are not that expensive if you get the lower end one. Amir is here, got the notification from Amazon. Awesome. So he's tuning in, terrific. Wants to know what we're using to simulcast. We are using, actually vMix is what I use for my production workflow. And vMix lets me have, we can actually have 3 different sources going out. And I would like to start broadcasting to Facebook also, just because I have some following there, you know, with all the stuff that we do. So I'll probably start using Restream.io or something to get out to more than 3 sources at a time. And I just need to add the NVIDIA Shield to the mix on the Amazon product carousel. All right, we have it there. So we're good there, and we're going to pull up the NVIDIA Shield now. So here we go, we're booted up. Now what I need to do is I just have to connect up a controller of some kind to the Shield so we can actually control it. And to do that, I'm going to find more stuff on the floor here. The good thing about being totally disorganized is that I'm actually more organized than you would think, because everything I need in the middle of one of these streams or a review that I'm doing is usually on the floor next to me. And I know exactly where it is. So, you know, there's some benefit to the madness here. Okay, so what we need to do is head over, because I don't think I have 3DMark on here, right? No, I do, okay. It might need to be updated though. So let's go to the Get More Apps, and we'll see if it is updated or needs an update. And let's see. Yeah, it needs an update, so we're gonna just update that real quick. And that, I believe, will get us ready to run the wildlife benchmark. And I'm really curious, actually, to see how it will do. So we'll check that out. Got some more questions coming in. I'm the one who knocks, wants to know what I think about the Tab S7 Plus. I haven't seen it yet. I do want to get in one of those Samsung tablets to test at some point. So we need to check that out. Monty notes correctly that wildlife does require Android 10 or higher. And that is why I do have the GPD XD on the list, but I don't have that one up to date with Android. Oh, this one, oh shoot, so they don't have Android 10 for the Shield yet, do they? That's right, so I guess we're not gonna be able to test this one with it. I thought they updated it recently, but you know what, maybe it's not up to that level yet. So let's go over to, I think I can go over to Device Preferences, About, System Upgrade, check for update. Let's see if there's anything. Nope, we're on the current version. So we are not going to be able to test the NVIDIA Shield. We did try, give it the old college try. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that new Chromecast supports it. So we could try that real quick. Why don't we do that real fast here and see. I'm going to grab that real quick. Let's see if we can get that going. So I happen to have it right here. So we can connect it up and see what happens. So here it is. And let's see if we can get that to run on here real quick. And I just got to get the power source delivered to it, and then we can give it a shot. I have it on Wi-Fi, but we should be okay with that. I just unplugged something. Hopefully that wasn't important. And we'll plug this in. And again, if you're just tuning in, today is an office hours day, and what I'm doing today is just catching up on all the stuff that I need to get done to get this place organized a little bit, and I thought I would just share it with all of you. So we are booting up the Chromecast with Google TV. I don't think this is available on Amazon yet. Let's see. So I'm pretty sure this has got a more recent version of Android than the Shield does. But I could be mistaken. So let's see if we can run it on that. We got some of the more of the regulars popping in. So Lewis is here. Hello. And Anthony says, oh, well, yeah, we tried. We gave it the old college try. Monty was trying to run it on his Kindle Fire, but yeah, that one's not able to run this test either. Prime says that the Amazon stream is delayed by about 20 seconds. So usually it's the other way around. So today might be a better day for YouTube. I'm not sure. Although what's happened since I got my new connection is that I'm much more reliably streaming now. And I think YouTube is not as kind to issues with unreliable stream sources like my situation was for a long time. We have some conversation going on in the Amazon chat. Addison Williams and Nathaniel are talking to each other. Good to see some community discussions going on, because Addison was wondering if anybody was here watching. So, all right, so I think I did install 3DMark on here, so let's take a look. We got to wait for the system here to kind of catch up, because it's just first booting up right now, so we'll let it kind of sit and settle. But I'm pretty sure I had installed it. Yeah, I did. And you can see too just how much better performing the Shield is versus something like this from Google. And I don't think this test was available. Yeah, so this is still, let me go do the update, because this just happened. Like all this stuff just got in like the last couple of days. So we're going to go over to the apps, and I think it should show up as an update. Because they also changed how this stuff works. I think the Google Play Store, if I go into the sideload launcher, might still be available. Let's take a look. Yeah, there's Play. Okay, so we'll go and load up Play. That was, by the way, one thing I didn't cover in my review was that you could still get to the Play Store, but it's kind of hidden. So I want to force an update of that 3DMark app. So we're going to jump into it here and force it. And that's why it's running slow, is that there's a bunch of updates on here too. So we need to let all that stuff get updated. Let's see what we end up with there. All right, there's a bunch of new stuff that they added to the mix here. I can add a stream marker. That's pretty cool. All right, let's see what happens here. You're not getting a ton of viewership today. I think people tend to not find my work interesting, right? But hey, the show must go on. It takes time to get these videos done for you all. I have to spend time and trying to figure everything out. And I kind of want to let these updates all happen just because it's going to be running in the background and hurting the update performance. So we'll let that run. I guess the Amazon chat's been allowing you to post images, like little funny pictures and stuff. So there's some funny things that Addison's posting there on the Amazon chat. All right, let this kind of run through here real quick. And I'm just waiting for these updates to go through, and then we can load the benchmark. But what I will do, let's take a look and see if the benchmark's even available. I'm pretty sure the new Chromecast has the ability to run this test. Yeah, it does. So we do have to download it. So let's download that in the background. And again, this is the same test we just ran on all the other devices, and we will be continuing to run on a bunch of others. So there you go. Rose has a question here. I'll pull it up. What are we talking about? So what we're talking about is I've got, today was one of these office hours days for me, and my plan was to do a lot more than I'm doing today at the moment. But I just discovered a new benchmark from 3DMark called the wildlife test. And what this is a multi-platform test, which means that we can run the same benchmark on Android, iOS, and Windows. So it's a really interesting way to kind of gauge a PC versus an Android device, for example, or an iPad. And I've been putting together just in my benchmark chart. By the way, you could go to Lon.TV/benchmarks and see this for yourself, because it's available to the world just to view. And this chart has all of my benchmarks that we run on all of the devices that we've tested here on the channel. In fact, this goes back, some of these tests go back to when I first started this channel doing these reviews. So I've got all the speedometer benchmark results here, all of our CloudGate test results. CloudGate is a PC-based test. TimeSpy is PC-based. Slingshot is mobile. But I'm really excited about Wildlife because the Wildlife test is both mobile and PC. So we have a way of looking at, you know, when the new iPad comes out, how does it stack up against the PC? It's not the end-all be-all, but it does give us an idea as to, you know, what the relative performance is of these various devices. So that's kind of what we're investigating here. And what I'm waiting for at the moment is just for all the updates to finish on this device, because you can see it's a little sluggish. And this is not the Shield. This is the Google Chromecast with, or the Google Chromecast with Google TV. This is their newest device. And it works nicely. But it's a little slower than the Shield is. But I do like the new interface. Some people don't like it. I think it's a nice change. And I just want to jump in and see, oops, where the updates are. And you have to kind of dig around to get into Google Play on here, as you just saw. And I'm just going to go to My Apps and see where the updates are at. So we got a few more left to update. And then once these updates are done, this will run a lot faster because it won't be doing anything in the background. And Monty's got some thoughts on tablets to replace the one he's got. Samsung Tab S5e is at the top of the list. He's got a Kindle Fire from 2013. Yeah, they used to have a much more higher performing line of tablets, and now they're just going for the lower cost stuff. So that's what he's at there. John Moshi wants me to do a cooking show. I think it would be more like the Swedish Chef on the Muppets. I do like to cook, but I'm not a good cook. I don't know a lot of. I think it would be something that I could do well if I focused on it and got into it, because I think there's a lot of similarities to my tech work that could come into play. And Rose thanks me for explaining. Happy to let you know what I'm up to. And I think we're done here. It's like one little update left, but I think it's like one of those background things that might happen when it reboots. So let's load this up now and see what we get. All right, so we did download the test, and we're going to go up to the little play button here and run it, and we'll see how it goes. And Flood of Sins just arrived. Let's see him saying hello here. Hello. Yeah, today's just an office hours day. I got computers I got to reset and pack up, and 3DMark just came out with this new benchmark called Wildlife. So I wanted to give it a run and see how it works. This might really struggle on the Chromecast device because this is not a very powerful computer. I think it's only got 2 gigs of RAM. The processor is not well suited for gaming. So I expect that this one will be the lowest performing device on the list that we're working on. And we'll see if I'm right about that. And here's where things are at the moment. So we've tested, or I've tested most of these things already. And so we just did the iPad 8th generation. Got a nice score there. And now the test is running. Now you can see just like, so just as a point of comparison, the low-end iPad was running this at 30 frames per second, and right now it's coming in at about 1 frame per second. So this will certainly be the bottom of our list when this is done running. So I want to take off, so if you're watching, this is not the NVIDIA Shield's performance. This is a low-end Chromecast device, the new Google Chromecast. Looks cool though, doesn't it? And the test is actually probably going to take longer to run because it is running so slow. But you know, this is not much of a gaming device. It's more for media streaming than anything else. So Prime here got a Luna invite, which is the new Amazon game streaming service. And I tried to find the app on Fire TV, but could not find it. I do not know. You know, I have not signed up for the service. I probably should to see if I can play around with it a little bit. I would imagine that if you accept the invitation, they'll probably send you some kind of beta link or something to get into it. All right, now we should be getting the results of the test. So let's see what we get here. And we're still waiting for the test. It may not give us a result. We'll have to see. Yep, it just locked up. So we may not get a result on this one. All right, well, that's the Google Chromecast. Oh, wait, it's coming back. Let's see, maybe it'll, I think we like overloaded it with that test. Like I said, this thing's not designed for what we just did with it. Oops, I don't want to rent Love and Monsters. Hang on, what did I do? See all. All right, let's go back to 3DMark's. Sometimes like if you go back in, it'll have the result up on screen, but it is like frozen. Anthony guesses 200. Yeah, I think it's probably going to be in that range, but this is what we got right now. I'm going to have to come back to that one. I would say that it's probably not even worth comparing, right? Because it's just not cutting the mustard, as they say, if that's a saying. I don't know if that's a saying or not. All right, so we got that done. So now I've got to get this Acer computer reset so we can send it back to its home. And this, by the way, came in on, sorry for that noise, that was my styrofoam from the last thing we were reviewing. This is the Acer Slim 5. Am I getting mixed up? No, this is the Acer Spin 5, not the Slim 5. We have the Slim 7 from Lenovo that will be on this table after this one. So this is actually going to be a fun little experiment today because we have a lot of different types of graphic systems to look at. So this one it's got a neat 3x2 display. The review of this is going to be up tonight, so be on the lookout for that. And actually, I think the review is already on Amazon. So if you go on Amazon's product page for this, you'll find my review right now. And this is a convertible, but it has a 3x2 display, which is kind of unique, isn't it? And it looks nice. And what I like about the 3x2 display is that if you're doing things like web browsing and whatnot, it's a little better, right? Because you can see things like a full page if you want, because it's not as narrow. The problem that you run into, and I'll mention this during the review, and Monty reminds me that I looked at the one with the Ryzen. Yeah, so what's funny is, here's what's funny. That one, the Slim 5 with Ryzen is a totally different machine than the Slim 5 with Intel. And this is what drives me crazy about them, is that they named the computer the same, but they can be totally different from one year to the next, as we're seeing with this one here. So take that for what it's worth. All right, so I'm just logging into my Steam account, although I've got to put it on Wi-Fi. So for some reason, it's on airplane mode. All right, let me just get it connected to my network here. I think it's trying to connect right now, as a matter of fact. Because I'm probably going to have to download an update on Steam. Now what I do with Steam is I put most of my Steam games for the testing on external drives. And I bought 3DMark through Steam, so I always have like a little drive I can just plug in and not have to download stuff every time. So we'll see where it goes. Got a nice super chat here from Toys R for Boys. Thank you very much. What do I think about Windows 10 in S mode? It stinks that you have to get a Microsoft account to switch to normal. Yeah, I think that if I was to give a Windows computer to my mom or dad, S mode is fine because they can't install anything and nothing will get installed on it. But you become immediately aware of the limitations of S mode because when you're in S mode, the only thing that will run are applications that come out of the Microsoft Store. So it doesn't quite become I don't want to say it becomes an iPad per se, but it very much limits your program selection. And you can, of course, go out of S mode, but you do have to give them, you have to set up a Microsoft account. Now, let's see if I have, I've got to update it here. So let's update 3DMark. Let's run a quick update there. Let that download. And what's been fun about my new internet connection is I'm learning like which services can actually saturate it versus others. And that was a quick update. So we can just launch that real quick. And again, the review of this is going to be up very shortly this evening. So you can tune in for that. So we will let it load. All right, and then we should see now on the benchmark list, it always pushes you to TimeSpy because that's what you would want to run on one of these. But here is Wildlife, and we can just install this. It's going to grab some extra content from the 3DMark website or servers. And we'll install that, and we're going to run the test on here. Now, what you're going to notice with this test, because it's kind of designed for a wider display, is that on a 3x2 display, you're going to get more letterboxing. You're going to have black bars top and bottom. And I will note that in the review, you're going to see a lot of examples of video that you're watching on YouTube or Netflix. Because they're 16:9 aspect ratio, you're going to see some of those things on there. Thomas Woodford says hello. Hello, Thomas. And Monty says we should have the Chromecast results be DNF. That's a good idea. So we'll say, here, I'll switch over to the benchmark sheet here. And by the way, you can follow along at Lon.TV/benchmarks, and you can come right to this page that we're running here. And we'll just say DNF. That'll be at the bottom of the list always. Okay, so now we're running. Now this machine has an i7 with the new Intel Iris graphics. So this is an i7 1065G7. And I am very interested to see what the final result is because I have a feeling this might actually come in very close to where, this is why I'm so excited about this test because it really is a way to do a close to apples comparison between a Windows machine and a mobile device. Now check this out. See the letterboxing? So this is a much more square aspect ratio display, and that's why you've got the letterboxing on there. All right, so let's see what happens when this concludes. Looks great though, doesn't it? I mean, it's only going at 30, 40 frames per second, but it looks nice. And this machine, by the way, it's only like 2.5 pounds, 2.6 pounds, so it's pretty lightweight. Okay, so we got the score, and it is 6,356, and as expected, check it out, it's just below the iPhone Pro 11. So the iPad Pro is a more powerful gaming machine than at least for this test. Let's not make a blanket statement like that. So this is the Acer Spin 5 with an i7 1065G7, and we got 6,356, and the frames per second is 38.06 FPS. So it's very competitive with the iPad Pro graphically and to some degree in its ability to process things. So that's an intriguing result, isn't it? Pretty cool. So there we go. We got a result. Isn't that interesting? Martin is asking on the Amazon chat, is there any laptop like these with a Spanish keyboard? I would say if you're browsing on US Amazon, probably not. But Acer sells laptops all over the world, as do most of the major manufacturers. So if you bought it in the Spanish market, you'd probably get one with a Spanish keyboard. Although if you did a search on Amazon, you probably would find a few that might have that. All right, so what I'm going to do now is eject the external drive. I'm going to close out Steam here. And what I do before I send these, so this is on loan, this computer, and I'm done with the review, so we're going to reset it. So we're going to go to reset this PC, And this takes a while, but I'm not gonna make you sit through it. I'm just gonna have it remove everything. And what I do is I just have it flush out the computer and just do a local reinstall. So that way, when it goes back to the the manufacturer that lent it to us, they get a basic computer here. So we'll say reset, and then it's going to automatically do its thing. And what's funny about this is that when it's done, it reboots, and then you get Cortana, and she'll say, "Hi, I'm Cortana, and I'm here to help. A little Wi-Fi here, a touch of that there, and we'll have your computer ready for all you need to do." I've heard that so often that it's burned into my soul, the Cortana thing. All right, so now the next computer we're looking at, this one we just reviewed last week. This is the Lenovo, this is actually a nice little laptop. This is the Slim 7. I think I've got it right now. Yes, the IdeaPad Slim 7. Now this is an i5 10th generation chip, but they paired it up with an MX 350 GPU from NVIDIA. So you get decent performance out of this little one. And it was interesting if you watched my review, because we saw performance levels that in some areas were beating the Ryzen versions, but in others not. It was a really intriguing thing where the gameplay didn't quite match the benchmarks. So the gameplay on this actually was better than I thought it would be from the benchmarks we were running. And by the way, this one is also on loan from Lenovo, so this one's going back to them hopefully today as well, because we've reviewed it. There doesn't seem to be any more questions about it, and it is ready to go. Also of note, this one has a Thunderbolt port, and actually the Acer we just looked at also has 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. And I love Thunderbolt ports because they're powerful and fast, and you can hook up external GPUs and all sorts of good stuff. Now the problem is that having connected power, oh, there's 2 ports, that's right. We'll plug power in there, and then we'll plug the hard drive into the other port and get that going. Okay, so now we're going to load Steam up. And because we just updated Steam on the other computer, this drive is already up to date. So what's awesome about Steam is that you can, again, install drives. There's no touchscreen on this. You can install games on an external drive and move the game drive around, and you're good to go. Pretty cool stuff. All right, just missed a bunch of questions. So let me pull some questions up here as we're going along. So Max Stock hopes I'm having a wonderful day. I'm having a pretty good day, actually. Trying to stay on top of stuff. Let's see here. Lionel says, I thought, yes, we are, it is planned to go to 4K. The reason why we haven't is because this is a really busy time of the year right now, and I need to put a priority on getting content out before I start messing around with the studio. So my plan is, once I've got like a bunch of the Apple stuff, so the iPad, the new iPhone, I've got we still got to do the Oculus Quest. So I've got a couple of big reviews that I want to get done. And then when those are done, I'm going to probably take an entire week just to work on production stuff, because I did get in a bunch of production-related devices that I wanted to review. And I think that might be a good excuse to start messing around with the studio a little bit. So the cameras I have can do 4K. My system here can do 4K, but I need time to rearrange some things. And when I switch the cameras to 4K, all the settings that I have on the cameras are lost. So I've got to do white balance. I got like a bunch of work to do to get it to work right. So that's why I just wanted to get all the big stuff off my plate, and then I can focus on that. So it might, again, we'll see what else comes out between now and the holidays, because this is, for me, my very big busy season. And a large part of my revenue comes from affiliate links, things that you click on and later buy. So I want to make sure that I'm reviewing all the things that are out in front of shoppers, and that's top priority. So once we get through that period of time and I'm satisfied I got to everything I needed to get to, then we'll start working on the studios there. Max Stock wants to know if I updated Windows to 1020H2 or 2009. I don't know. I may have. I know my production computer just got a big update. I don't think I updated this one because it's telling me there is an update available, so I don't believe so. Tej is saying, well, mobile is such a lousy platform for competent gaming. That's true, but it's good to see performance-wise, like where do these things stack up? Because if a manufacturer says our iPad is as fast as a PC, is it? Tests like this will show you that it is, and to some degree, as we can see here, an iPad is as fast as a PC, right? There you go. So we can confirm marketing speak, and that's part of what I like to look at. Eyes of Bytes is downloading it right now in the iPhone SE 2020. It's 10 degrees centigrade up there in Sweden. So today is actually a warm day. So I think the temperature outside right now is 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and that is 21 C. So it's a nice day outside, and I'm down here in the basement for some reason. Toys Are for Boys points out that every Acer in Canada comes with a bilingual keyboard. That's right. And in fact, I think in many cases in Canada, because I used to sell things, my last job, we used to sell things into Canada. We had to have all of our packaging bilingual. Interestingly, in the US, a lot of the things we sold to like Home Depot and Lowe's had to be trilingual. You had to have French, Spanish, and English, because they were selling into the Canadian market, but there was also a need for Spanish on a lot of products. So that was a requirement, not from the government, but from the manufacturer. Okay. So MaxDoc says, update the drivers using the Lenovo Vantage. Yeah, I think I did put in the latest GeForce driver on this one, so we should be up to date there. Okay, so we're good to go. Let's go and run the test real quick. We'll go to the library, and we'll go to... By the way, if you buy 3DMark, it often buries itself in the software section. Oh, it's not finding it. Hang on a second. Let's redirect. So we're going to have to repoint this at the D drive. It's on here already, but for some reason, it's not finding 3DMark. Why is that? Huh. It says install, even though it is installed. Oh, we'll install it again. I bet you I never installed it to this drive. That could be what happened. So we'll download that real quick. And John Moshi says that Chrome OS is now running full-featured Windows applications on Chromebook Enterprise devices with Parallels. You know, I should see if that works on my Pixelbook Go, because I still have that upstairs. And Eyes of Bytes, oh good, thank you for running that test, Eyes of Bytes. Can you get me the average frames per second also, and I'll put it on my list of tested devices. That'd be really helpful. That would be great. And Mark H. adds some more to the discussion about ARM CPU versus x86, which is faster. And I think that's one of the things that you got to be careful about on these tests, because it doesn't mean that the processor is faster on everything. It's just faster on this test. And the key thing, and this is going to be something really to focus on, because Apple, as you all know, is coming out with their own ARM-based laptops. New Macs and desktops are going to be running with these ARM processors. And those processors are going to do things that an x86 chip may not perform as well doing. But an x86 chip is multi-purpose. It can do a lot of different things at a pretty good level of performance. Those Apple chips will only be able to do certain things at high levels of performance. So it's going to be very important to think about the context of what you're looking at. You know, is it good for 4K video editing? Sure. But it may not be good for, you know, calculating whatever, or doing 3D design work or CAD work or 3D printing, right? So the performance will be varied significantly, I think, with these new Apple chips based on what activity you're doing. And the same can be said of this test. You know, we're measuring how well different processors run this test. But it doesn't mean that the iPad is faster than a PC under every circumstance, right? So it's always a grain of salt, as they say. Okay, so let's launch 3DMark now that we have it on the drive. Just have to install its stuff here. And I am, so yeah, Eyes of Bytes, if you can get me the frames per second, that'd be great. But I will add that to the list, because that's a helpful number. And iPhone SE 2020. And that has the, I think it has the A12 also. A13. It's an A13 chip. So that's the same as my iPad Pro. And so it is $7,267 for that. And I'll give credit to viewer. Eyes of buys. Okay. All right, so the test is up here, at least the app is up, and we're going to go and select that wildlife benchmark again and install that. And we're going to run it. And 45 frames per second, perfect. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Himalash wants to know what my name is. My name is Lon, just like the channel, Lon.TV. I'll put your question up here so everybody can see. And Isobais, thank you for the frames per second on that, and I have given you credits on the sheet. I'll pull it up here so you can see. There you are, right there. Thank you for that. That was really helpful. All right, so this is now running with an MX350 GPU. So we have an Intel i5 processor and an MX350 GPU in here. And let's see what we get out of this one. And again, today is an office hours day. We're just kind of getting some computers packed up to send back, and I thought it might be fun to run this new benchmark on these before I got rid of them so that we could see what we got. This is running pretty nice. It's actually running better than the G7 Intel Iris graphics. So we're getting better speed on the GPU as expected. This is a nice little machine. I got to say, like, if you want something thin and light, now I think the best one is probably still going to be that HP X360. That's about the same size, but this is a good one. It's got that GPU. It's a nicely performing little machine. But did we just lock up? I think we just locked up. We may have to run that again. Oh, let's see. Maybe it just concluded. Let's take a look and see if we get a result. Oh, it did it. Okay, good. All right, valid score. So this is going to come in now in, this is going to come in above, oh, interesting, folks. This came in above the iPhone Pro 11, but below the iPad Pro 11 first generation. So this is the Lenovo IdeaPad Slim 7. This has a Intel i5. Let's see what processor. Okay, this is the 1035 G1, and it's paired up with an MX350 GPU. And it did detect that GPU properly, so we were running off the GPU there. And we got a score here. I'll pull up the little sheet so you can see what I'm typing in here. We got a score of 8,694. And the average frame rate was 52.06 FPS. So again, not necessarily saying that under all circumstances that this laptop is slower than an iPad, but on this test, which looks at graphical performance in Vulkan, and I think on the iPad, this runs on Metal, which is the Apple Direct Graphics API. So you can see that last year's iPad Pro outperforms a current Intel MX350 GPU combo machine, at least on this test. Not by much, but certainly it's certainly there. And I would venture to say that when we test out the A14 iPad Air, we will see probably better performance than what we're getting out of the Pro 11. So that's an interesting result, don't you think? So there you go. All right, so that's done. And by the way, the review of this laptop is currently on my YouTube channel and right here on Amazon. So if you click on the Amazon link in the description, you'll find a link for this. And when you go to look at that, you'll see my review over there. But I like this laptop a lot. I think it's a nice compact 14-inch laptop. And it's not that expensive. This is selling right now for $769. If I remember correctly, let me see what it's got for specs. I think this one has the i5, which we just confirmed, of course, the MX350. It only has 8 gigs of RAM and it's not upgradable. So that's the only real knock against it is that. But it does have 512 gigs of NVMe storage. So the RAM is a little iffy on it, but it's also, not that expensive. So it would have been better if you could have upgraded the RAM on it, but you can't. All right, so now we're going to do the reset on this one. I've got one more PC to check out. And this next one will be interesting because I think it has the same processor as this one, but it's running without the GPU. So it would just be using the regular G1 graphics. So let me go into system reset here. I'm like spacing out here for a second. Let's see, reset, show all results. Reset this PC, there we go. We're gonna get started. And we'll do exactly what we did with the other one. We're gonna remove everything. And I'm gonna pop out my drive here real quick though. And by the way, this is one of those SanDisk Extreme SSDs we looked at the other day. Nicely performing little drive. We're gonna do a local reinstall and get that going. And the other one is about 9% there. It takes a while when you run these resets. These do take a while. And that's why I haven't gotten to it, because I have so many things keep coming into this place to review. It's sometimes hard to keep up with it all. All right, so the last one here, this is the ThinkPad L14. And this is kind of the entry-level ThinkPad device. It has the same processor as this one, but the difference here is that it doesn't have the, let's get the power cable out here. It doesn't have the GPU, so we're not going to see the same level of performance. And this is kind of like your standard Intel graphics. It has the i5 1035G1, again, just like the other one does, but at a different performance level. And I just got to make sure that this power cable is connected, which is, I think, the one I just unplugged a little while ago. There we go. Okay, so let's go pull that plug out. Okay, and I haven't charged this one up in a while either, so it's going to take a little bit for it to come up. All right. I'm missing a whole bunch of questions here. Omar on the Amazon chat says, I said my internet connection is improved. Have I seen performance improvements with the TiVo 4K Stream and Plex? I've been getting a lot of questions about the TiVo Stream and that I should look at it again. So I might want to come back and look at that, because a lot of people have been writing in about it, and I think there's some anticipation that the TiVo will be a Black Friday device. So I probably will come back and look at that one. Now, it looks like I might have already reset this, so let's see what happens when it comes back up again and see what it looks like. Travis Cunningham wants to know, have I tried Star Wars Rogue Squadron in VR yet? Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, we did a stream the other day, a couple weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, about that. And I have a video up on the Extras channel that you can check out with that. And it looks like I did reset this one already, so I got to just pop into it real quick and get it going. So I am curious to just get this result out of here so we have some basis of comparison. So I'm just going to connect it up to my network. It's funny, it's not, there it is. Okay, I was going to say, it wasn't seeing my, okay, there we go. John Moshe has a very good analysis, I think, of the Apple versus Intel silicon stuff. It's a x86 is kind of like buying a suit off a rack, right? Because it's multi-purpose. Apple is very custom made and fitted for what they think their users are going to do with it. I think that's a very good analysis of what it is. Okay. Toys Are for Boys ran it on their laptop. It was $26.93 at 14.3. Awesome. I will add that to my list as well in a second, just to have another view of it. So I will add that there. So a Dell E6540. So we will add that to the mix here. So we have a good assessment. So that was a score of 2693. So let's go pull up the list here. And I'm just going to paste it into the bottom here so I don't lose anything. So we're going to put it right over above this one. And this is a Dell E6540. AMD HD 8790M, and that was 2693 and 14.3 FPS. And it's helpful too, because the more data points I have, I think the more valid like a specific statement might become. If I say it performed better on this test then, right? It's good to have that comparative. And we're just going to have it be an offline account here just to get going. Limited experience. I just want to get into this computer so I could run this test real quick and get out of here. Let's do a quick password. And I want security questions. I don't want to do any of the security question stuff. All right, we'll just run through this real quick. Bear with me for 1 second, folks. I just got to type in a few things here.
Hi there.
All right, the other one is done. You hear? Okay.
Ready for all you plan to do. Use your voice or the keyboard along the way, and if you'd like me to stay quiet, just select the little microphone.
And we're going to turn her off over there because she is done.
If you need an assistive screen reader, press the Windows, Control, and Enter keys at the same time to turn on narrator. Okay, enough intro. Let's dig in.
All right, we'll slide down and shut her off, and we'll reset this other one. That's good. I'm running well on schedule here. We're getting things reset. This is what Jake would used to do when he was able to come in. Right now, we just because we don't have good airflow in this place, we can't really have him here. So he works remotely. All right, give me 1 second, folks. I'll be right back. I just got to grab something on my phone real quick, so I will be back here in a second. I'm going to do an experiment here. I want to see what happens when I click the Insert Ad button if you're on YouTube, so stay tuned. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, everybody. It's a problem when you have to steer and row. Okay, so we're booted up here. We're going to just download Steam real quick, and we'll see how this test runs on here. So this is the ThinkPad L14, and this is an entry-level ThinkPad. I'm just going to add this to the list on the live stream for Amazon. And it's, you know, if you want a ThinkPad and you don't want to spend that much, this is probably the one to get. It's not very, it doesn't have the look and feel of the more expensive devices. Sorry, wash my hands here. It doesn't have the look and feel of the more expensive devices, but it, you know, gets the job done. You get the, you know, the little finger nub here and the trackpad, and you get all that stuff. So, you know, there's some value to it, I think. You know, for me, I wasn't crazy about it, but it performed decent enough. So, wasn't bad there. And we're just going to plug in the hard drive here. And so when you have like an external drive running Steam, you still have to download Steam, but you don't have to download the games again. So we're just going to go to Steam's website. And I think we're on the Wi-Fi, yep. So we'll just grab the installation package here. And then after we do this one, I got to run, because I got to go drop these off at the mailbox and get them back to their home. So this is another loaner from Lenovo. So Lenovo and Acer, actually Dell, everyone, and HP. My preference, by the way, because people ask me all the time, what do you do with all this stuff? Well, my preference is that this stuff comes in on loan and I send it back to the manufacturer. Ideally, that's the best way to go, for a whole host of reasons, not the least of which is that you get to a point where you can only have so many computers at a time. So that's a big reason there. And we're going to let that install real quick, and then we'll run the test on that and then reset it again. Isabeyes is running the test a couple of times on the machine. You know, one of the issues you run into with these benchmarks is that you can run into thermal throttling. That's something that can happen. Sometimes they're doing things in the background as well. So that's one of the reasons why, like, I'm really careful when I run this stuff to make sure all the other apps are closed out, because if you have something in the background doing something, you know, with these little mobile chips, that does make a significant difference on some of those things. Just going to log into my Steam account real quick, and I have that Steam guard, so I've got to go and do some other stuff there. And while that's going, I will try to answer a question and multitask in my head here. MJFR wants to know about my thoughts on the net neutrality issue. You know, I don't think it's happened. I don't think the bad things that I was talking about have happened. I think there is some, but not a lot, of market pressure that's preventing the companies from doing this, because they know if they were to start doing more visible kinds of things to restrict the neutrality of their networks, that they would get a lot of heat over it. And I think they're probably going to hold on to their ability to do it, you know, until they have to, right? So it doesn't hurt Comcast now to not do some of those favorability things. But if they are doing it, we may not even know, right? And to some degree, I think some of the peering arrangements have made it, and I'll pull the question back up so people can see what I'm talking about. I think also to some degree, some of the peering arrangements have probably been enough for the companies, because the big issues that the ISPs have been raising over neutrality is the fact that we're all pushing so much video over their networks, hence what you are all watching right now, right? And what's happened just by the nature of the physics of the network, and to some degree how they engineer the networks, that if you're an Amazon Prime Video or a Netflix, Comcast is saying to these guys, hey, if you want the best performance for your customers, you better rent some space in our data centers so that we can get your content delivered faster. And I think some of that would have happened irrespective of the neutrality rules. And I think they're making money off of that. So that's probably alleviated some of those concerns. Right now I'm pointing this at the thing there. And, you know, to a degree, not to defend the cable companies, because I don't want to defend them significantly here, but to a degree, what's happened over the years is that they have been kind of disadvantaged in the sense that they have to pay the content creators to run their channels, like ESPN, for example. But on the digital stuff, it's the other way around. The content creators have to pay the cable company for the best performance on the pipe. And so that's why you're seeing the power of these regional monopolies becoming so much more significant, because they have the physical infrastructure and the ability to charge for better performance on those networks. And I'm seeing it, just in my, now that I have this 2 gig connection, it's been an eye-opener, because you can get a real sense as to like who's closest to you versus not, and how much bandwidth can you push over the network. It's been really intriguing to see that, given that I can do 2 gigs symmetrical now. It's been really fascinating, just to see what kind of performance levels I'm experiencing. Karthik Sethi wants to know, what do I think of the HP NV13? I did look at the X360, which I reviewed, and I really liked it. I don't think I've tested the NV13. If I did a review, check the YouTube channel and see if I reviewed it. I know I looked at the X360 NV, which was a great AMD Ryzen device, so I was very happy with the way that one worked. All right. Cohen and Brogue says, I don't know about you guys, but the stream was still going for me, only the sound was cut off. Yeah, I had to turn my sound off for a minute, so I had to take a call. So that is what happened there. Todd here has been using Xfinity, no problems with using over 200 gigs a month, streaming 4K on 4 devices. Yeah, this has been part of my other discussion, is that most consumers and what they're marketing to is people that want downstream. And my downstream I was fine with. It was my upstream that was the issue. I had an issue with bandwidth on the upstream, and I had an issue with reliability. So that's why I went with the Gigabit Pro, because when I would do these streams, we would always be cutting out. I had to engineer all these different solutions for trying to keep my stream up, and it was getting very frustrating. And now I got my fiber connection here. I'm going right into the head end. So basically, I have so if you know how the cable nodes work, so with Gigabit Pro, as a residential subscriber, you pretty much get your own path that the cable nodes would have. So my connection is similar to what a whole neighborhood would get, except I have it just for me. So I'm going right back to the cable head end. And so the bits that I am pushing out of this little room I'm in get sent about 6 miles down the road, just straight light connection between fused fiber optic cables. It goes right in. So I'm not going through anything. There's no interference along the way. It's been a wonderful experience for me, bandwidth-wise and reliability-wise. So I'm really happy with how that's been working. Victor, yes, Victor, this is a very good point, because if you did this in the past, it was always really difficult to reset computers. You had to get boot disks and download recovery images. What Windows 10 does, because we've got a lot of storage now, so when you install Windows 10, it actually puts a recovery partition on the drive. So typically when I do these resets, it's just reinstalling Windows from the recovery partition. It'll also download it. The Macs do the same thing. You could just download it live over the internet. It kind of boots up a minimal thing. All right, so now this was basically the same. This machine had the same performance as the last one we looked at. The same processor as the last one we just looked at, right? So here we get a score of 2180. So I'm going to just insert a row below here, and I'll show you where this one came in. So this is the ThinkPad. We'll call it the Lenovo ThinkPad L14. This has an Intel i5 10. I think it's the. Oh, this is the i5 10, so it's similar to the other one, but not the same. 10210U. So this does not have the Iris graphics. This is running with Intel's UHD graphics. So it's the older, more traditional Intel graphics chipset. So there we got 2180. And I'll zoom in a little bit. And this came in at 13.06 FPS. Now, what's interesting about this test is that it doesn't give you a breakdown by CPU performance and graphics performance. You just get a score and an average frames per second. Let's see if it's got any more details. This is monitoring. Let's see. Yeah, we're not getting any more than what it's given us here. So I got like temperatures and stuff, but I'm not getting an idea as to how one component of the test runs versus another. But it's good enough, I think, to just do some basic comparatives here. I mean, this test runs at this level. And you can see that, that this ThinkPad, because it doesn't have decent graphics, doesn't do as well on this test because it doesn't have the graphics that an A12 and an iPad has. And so just to put things into perspective, and again, this is just this test, but this laptop will run you about $1,000, $1,200. You can buy an iPad for $300 and change and get that performance out of it from that test. But the things that you would do on an iPad, the iPad will do better than this PC would do. So there you go. But it's getting harder because, and this is why I don't like to focus that much on benchmarks on the channel, because I think people want to see, like, how does it work? How does it do with web browsing? I could pull up a web page on both this iPad and the computer, and both will be fine. So it's really a matter of what you're doing with it as opposed to what these benchmarks are telling you. But the benchmarks are telling because if gaming is important to you, now we've got a test, through this Wildlife 3DMark thing that can give us an idea as to, how things compare. And if Apple is saying, hey, our iPad Pro is as powerful as a PC, is it? Turns out it is. Not as powerful as my gaming PC upstairs with the 2080 Ti, but it is competitive with a laptop that you would pay about the same amount of money for. And it doesn't have a fan, and it's a tablet, and it's lighter, and it's, all those things. And it's got a great pen. So those are the kinds of things that you see there. So there you go. So that was all I wanted to test today. And maybe I'll start the reset process on this and get this one ready to get packed up, and we'll see which ones are ready. I might hang on to the Acer for one more day because the review is going up tonight. And I every time I send back a laptop before the video posts, I get a question that I should have answered in the video and need to do a follow-up on. So I'm going to hang on to that Acer, but I'm going to get the two Lenovos back to Lenovo today. I think that's going to be my plan. And we'll see where we end up there. Okay, so let me take a few more questions here. Eyes of Buys loves the channel. Thank you very much for that. Yes, we need to do the Flowbee. I'm going to talk to, what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk to so I have this, so here's what happened with the Flowbee. I still have it. What happened with the Flowbee, and I've explained this before. I bought a Flowbee in the middle of the pandemic situation. We're still in the middle of it, but you know what I mean, when we couldn't do anything. I bought the Flowbee, and I had intended to do a live stream using it. And then what happened is a friend of my daughter is in preschool, and her friend from preschool, the mom, started up a at-home haircutting service. So she comes and does haircuts on your back porch. I mean, perfect for this current scenario we're under. So she was here doing the kids, and she had a few minutes. She's like, "Want me to do your hair?" I'm like, "Do it, just get it done." So what I wanted to do was get the Flowbee inventor, because he's still around. I wanted to get the Flowbee inventor on the channel to walk me through it. So I'm going to try to maybe get him back on and maybe have her here to help me in case I screw up, because that's the deal. Tech Nerd asks me about the new Synology 2020 NAS lineup. Yeah, I got to get in touch with them because, they're great. I love the Synology NAS devices, but they don't change much year to year typically. But I'm interested now because I think they do have a multi-gigabit version of their NAS. So I got to follow up with them and see what they've got. I really need to do some follow-ups on Synology stuff. I use a Synology all the time. I've got one in the back room over there, that fireproof one that they sent me a while back. That's my daily driver NAS now. It's wonderful, super powerful. So we'll get to that. Here's a good question from Patrick Chang. For streaming with vMix or OBS, can you tell a difference between a 1660 or a 2060 or a 2070? Again, it's going to be one of those things where it depends. I don't think, for most people, if you're doing a 1080 stream, you're going to see that big of a difference between the 1660 and the 2060 or 2070. I think there's some degree of quality enhancements with the NVIDIA video encoders that are built into those GPUs. So you might see a little bit of a difference there, but We're streaming off of a GTX 1080 for this channel, and I have yet to hit its limit. The big thing I think on vMix beyond the GPU performance is the amount of video RAM available. So right now I'm kind of running on a lower end stream today as far as sources, but I mean, I've had 4 cameras coming in plus an NDI source or 2, and I've been at like only 20% of my total GPU memory. So I think if you were looking for a laptop to do live streaming with 4 cameras, you're going to be fine with the 1660. I think if you get into 4K, and this is what will be a big test for me because I don't know how this is going to handle 4K, whether the 1080 is going to be enough for that. Both from a video memory perspective, but also from a performance perspective. So my plan is that if this 1080 doesn't cut it, I'll pull the 2080 Ti out of the gaming machine upstairs and then figure out if I can find a way to get a 3080 or whatever else is the new thing. But I know a lot of people are using 1660s on their vMix installs and they're perfectly happy with them. The big thing you want to do is there's an app on vMix, and I forgot the name of it. Let me look it up and see if I can see it here on the list. There is a vMix app as part of their package. It's called vMix Diagnostics, and you want to run that first because it'll find all the things running in the background that might screw up your stream. So that's my first recommendation. But just again, keep an eye on your stats on the bottom. And if you notice that you're starting to hit the limit on stuff, then maybe you need to look more to something more powerful. What I found when I was running everything off my laptop, I have a 2080 RTX 2080 equipped Lenovo Y740 laptop, and it has there goes Cortana again. It has the Max Q variant of the 2080. The limitations I've found with that laptop have not involved the GPU at all. It's been the CPU. So as we're bringing in NDI sources, for example, those are taking up processing power because NDI is processed almost entirely through the CPU on vMix. So when we did the high school graduation, we had 3 or 4 1080 sources. My CPU was running at about 50–60%, but the GPU was very minimal. So it's a matter of what you're doing, I think. It's very circumstantial. It's a long answer, but hopefully that's a helpful one. But yeah, we're running with a 1080 on the channel, and it's been fine. I mean, I've never even closely got to the 50% mark on it, no matter how many sources I've put into it. So it's good stuff. Eyes of Buys on that test that we were talking about earlier. If I'm not mistaken, it's Vulkan on Android and Windows and Metal on iOS. And if I'm wrong, let me know down in the comment section there. And Monty's got some clarification on the CPU types.
Okay, don't let me hold you up. Just pick the one you want from the list.
She's still talking over there, Cortana. Yeah, screens are always the big consumption of battery power for sure. So I have the new Apple Watch 6, and I need to do my video about that soon. I've just been so tied up with stuff. And I've been doing the sleep tracking with it, and they have a sleep mode on the 6 and also I think on the previous version. And when you enable that, it kills the screen, and the watch lasts a lot longer. So that's something to check out. Luther wants us to do that Floby. Danielle points out, right, they've got that new one with the AMD processor. I don't know how well that AMD one's going to do with Plex transcoding because it doesn't have Intel QuickSync on board, right? So we'll have to see how that works out. Frank Castle, thank you for the kind words. Joe wants to check out a ThinkPad Nano review. Yeah, I usually get offered those to review. So as soon as I get offered one, I will definitely check it out. Eyes of Buys is on the way out. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your help with adding some numbers to our list. That was great. Interactive DNA likes OBS. Oh, by the way, I meant to respond to your email, Interactive. I apologize for that. Yeah, I use vMix, and that's why I was not able to work with what you sent over to me, and I appreciate you doing that. I use vMix for stability. I like it a little better than OBS, just my personal preference. I have friends in the industry that are just, I mean, they love vMix, and they talk me into using it. And Roberto Hellman loves the channel. Thank you very much. And he wants to know if I know Leo. I'm assuming Leo Laporte. Absolutely. I've watched Leo Laporte for many, many years. An inspiration, if that's the same Leo we're talking about. And Actually, I'm buddies with Dick DiBartolo because Dick and I we used to see each other all the time in New York City because that's where Dick is from. And I go to these, and actually today I would have been at one of those shows, the Pepcom show, which I'm going to log into in a little bit. I used to go into New York City for those shows, probably about 3 or 4 times a year there'd be a show in New York. So I would see Dick all the time at those, and I'd see Dick at CES. I got to visit his gadget cave there at his apartment. So good people. Good stuff. Yeah, I didn't get to say hello to Leo, but I saw him walking around at CES in 2020, the last time we could be around other people. So good stuff. All right. What else we got here? Oh, good. We got another score for the, I'm going to add that to the list here. So Pikachu ran it on the iPhone 10. I've got to check out my wife's iPhone 10s. She's not here right now, but I will check that out. So the iPhone 10, 3239. What a jump that is from the 10 to the 11, right? So here's the 11 at almost double the performance. Isn't that crazy? So we'll slide that one in right under here. So we'll say iPhone 10. This is good though. I've got a great collection of stats here: 3239 and 19 FPS. And I got to give credit to Toys for Boys on here too. I forgot to do that. So let me go. Put that credit there, and then we're going to credit Pikachu. Raichu. This is really helpful, everybody, by the way, because the more that I get, the more I can flesh this out. And I think the iPhone 10, is that also an A12? Let's take a look. A11. Okay, so that was the A11. Yeah, they have these stupid marketing names like A11 Bionic. What does that mean? I know it's probably some AI reference, but I don't want my chips being bionic. It just implies that they're like doing something to my biology, which makes me nervous. So Interactive says, no worries on the OBS. Yeah, I would like to play around with that at some point. I just don't have anything that I can output 8K at, so that's part of my problem. So we'll have to see where that goes. And Roberto here knows Dick DiBartolo from Eddie's. Oh, cool. He goes to the. So we're probably pretty close to each other there because he's been to Dick's meetup. I wanted to go to one of Dick's meetups. Maybe I'll do that one year and maybe see you there. It'd be kind of fun. Anthony Biacco got me the A11 there before I got to it. There you go. Actually, I just talked to Dick a few weeks ago. We were trying to figure out before they canceled CES what we were going to do. Yeah, and actually this year I was going to do a whole different thing for CES. I was going to probably go one less day and approach things a little bit more strategically. So when I first started going, what I would do is you can't miss the Pepcom thing because it's one of the biggest events at the show. And there are several hundred companies in one room. And within 3 hours, you get a whole day's worth of content. It's great. So that's always been like a must go. Another must go for me is Showstoppers. It's a smaller version of that, but they have really good food because it's at the Wynn. The Wynn is such a classy place. It's like my favorite hotel in Vegas. And they have a really good buffet at the Wynn also. So I do the Wynn buffet and then I go there and eat again. I do that one. And then we used to spend an entire day at Eureka Park. Incidentally, I think that's where I got sick. You know, like I came back. Remember I said I think I had COVID when I came back because like everybody got sick at CES this year with like all the symptoms. So we would walk around a whole day at Eureka Park, which is the startup area at CES. And for many years, Eureka Park was like a really good place to visit because there was all sorts of, you'd walk down every hallway, you'd see something unique and novel. This year was not the case. Like we just spent a lot of time wandering around and not finding anything. So I was going to do a little bit more research ahead of the show to find things that I wanted to go see so we could go and just target specific items that we'd want to look at, and then go from there. And then, a few companies like me enough to make appointments, so we get some private time with a few other companies and stuff. But yeah, no CES this year. It's going to be remote only. I'm going to log into PepCom in a little bit because they're doing a remote thing right now as we speak. So I'm going to go do that after these computers are done resetting. So I'm going to probably go drop these off at the mailbox. I'm going to do that first because I might have packages waiting for me. And then I'm going to do the PepCom show. And then by the time I'm done with that, kids will be home and it's almost dinner time. So total craziness. We've had a very busy week here. So it's been a little nuts. All right, so we're waiting for this to finish up resetting. And yeah, so that's where it's at. So I just wanted to do a little work session today. So not every stream is going to be exciting, but it was helpful to get all of your help because I added some really helpful scores to my list. If you wanted to run the wildlife test on your device, and you wanted to send me some results so I could add it to the list and I'll give you credit. And then if we ever refer to it during the stream or during a video, we'll pull up your name with it. Email me at Lon@Lon.TV. What I need to know is the name of the device, the processor and GPU, if it has one, and the score and the frames per second. So this is the information that you would need to send me, and then also what you want for your credit. And I will put you on the list there. And then at any time, if you're ever shopping for a computer or a phone or anything, if you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, you can look at a view-only version of this spreadsheet. And I see a few of you are in here right now. So you can scroll through all the different computers that we've tested here on the channel. Pretty much everything we've reviewed over the last 7 years is in this file. So you should be able to find test results for a good chunk of the name brand laptops out there. So have a look. And definitely email me in some additional things if you want to do that. It'd be really helpful. So that is where we're at. Okay, well, I'm going to take off here. Roberto, first of all, definitely say hello to Dick for me. I'll probably talk to him at some point as well. He might actually be on that stream today. Maybe I'll see him on there. We'll go from there. Patrick's iPhone 12 comes in on Friday. I think that's when mine is coming in too. I did order a new Pro 12. And I wasn't going to get one, but you know what happened? My speaker blew out on this one. And I could do like an Apple Care with it, but I figured, you know what, I'll just get the new one and trade this one in. Because it's otherwise in good shape. So I got the new one. I'll trade this one in. And I wouldn't have upgraded normally. But I did get the new iPad Air, because that's kind of a new generation of that device. So we'll take a look at that. Trent, thank you for the result. Do me a favor, email that to me, and I need to know the processor and frames per second. Those are the things that we need on that. All right, everybody, I am going to head out for now, but I will be back again likely tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm probably going to get the Oculus Quest going. So I haven't looked at the Quest 2 yet. We're going to unbox it and set it up and see what the experience is. I've got a nice area that I'll clean up over there, so we'll have a different camera angle for you to look at, and you can watch me wander around with a headset on my head trying to find my way. So that'll be kind of fun. All right, everybody, I will see you all very soon. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll go from there. Oh, one more question here. 2 questions. Robert wants to know if I have looked at the XPS 15. I have. In fact, I just looked at the new one, but not with the Tiger Lake processor. And I liked it a lot. It's a really, like for Windows laptops, it's probably one of the best designed ones out there. It's really slick design. In fact, my father just bought one for his house. So that would be good. And we'll go from there. Vivi wants to know if I have a GTX 1050 GPU. I might have one in the back. I should look and see if I've got one somewhere. So I have reviewed other ones, so you can see on my other benchmarks on that sheet, you can compare it on that. So take a look for sure. All right, everybody, I will catch you all soon. Thanks for tuning in, and I want to thank Toys R for Boys for your Super Chat contribution. And I will be back again tomorrow with the Oculus Quest 2, so stand by for that and enjoy the rest of your day. Stay healthy, social distance, mask, do all the good things, okay? I will talk to you all soon.